Hey there, let's build a form on your Wix site. Any kind of form you want to. And maybe I'll give you some ideas that you hadn't even thought of yet. Let's go. Okay, so here are some great examples of Wix form uses. And this first one is a company that does huge events. So they've got first name, last name, email, phone. Those things are pretty basic, right? City or state, date of events, name of event, location of event, tell us about your event. So that when they get this form and they contact the client, they know a lot more than they would if they'd just gotten a name and email. This is a lead magnet form. So this is just first name, last name, email. Visitor clicks, they get a guide, so they get something, and the website owner gets the first name and last name to put on their email list so that they can send them emails in the future and nurture that lead. We've got another lead magnet here. This person gets a starter guide about building a salon suite business. Same thing, first name, last name, email. But if you go down a little bit, here is another contact form, the sort of main contact form that has what is the stage of your business. You just launched, you're growing, you're expanding. What are you interested in from us? And you can click as many of these little buttons as you want to. There are different ways in forms to make it so you can click a lot of them or only click one of them. We have got a form here that's a really good example of how to make your form personable and warm, which you really can do, obviously, here. So he's got first name, last name. This is in London, England. So we've got email, so we can respond to you, or phone if you'd prefer a call. So you're essentially asking the visitor, do you want us to email or call you? But it's said in such a nice way here. I just love the way this is laid out. What part of London are you in? And give some examples. And what do you want? What kind of roofing help do you need? What kind of roof do you have? Tell us more. So this is just a really nice, warm contact form that gives the business owner a lot of information and makes the client already feel cared for. Here's a job application. This is for a security guard for school trip. And so we've got basic information at the top here. We've got a place to upload a file, upload their resume. We've got a calendar here for the date available. We've got, these are called radio buttons when it's either a yes or a no. Just more questions here. We've got a confirmation click box here. So if you have something on your website that you want people to read before they send you any information like this, you've read my FAQs, you've read the agreement, you can put a click box here that they have to say, yes, I've done that. Kind of gives you a bit of a leg to stand on if anything, is misunderstood, because they've already said that they did whatever it is that is in this sentence here. So that is a really great example of a job application form. And again, this is just the same form. All these forms are the same form builder. It's just got more things added onto it. And if we go from there to their request a booking form, so this is not for people trying to get a job. This is for people who want to hire. Here's, the contact information again. What is your business type, school, tour operator, or the lodging, the hotel? And all of these have little asterisks. That means you have to answer them. They're required fields. So it turns red if the person doesn't fill that out. And again, just more information, approximate trip dates and number of students. So again, it gives them more information than they would have had they just had a plain old contact form. Lastly, this is a really quick, easy form for an RSVP for a music festival. This is the same as if it was a lead magnet download. It's just name, email, click. It's another use case of what you can use a form for. What happens here, people will fill this out, then they'll get an email. The people who are running the concert will have a really good list of who's coming, and they'll know in advance how many people there are. Here is the homepage of a site that I've been using in these videos on YouTube to show you how to build a site. If I go up to the upper left-hand corner here, it does not have anything on the contact page. It is just blank here. If I switch out the browser tab up here, if I go into the dashboard for this site, I'll show you where you find your forms. Over here on the left-hand side, if you go down to customers and leads, and go into Forms and Submissions here, and you click on there. This is where your forms are going to live once you create them. There's nothing in here now. Now we have two things in here. We have new forms and old forms, and there's nothing in either of them right now. It says you can create 25 forms per site, and that's a lot of forms. You can really go to town on forms if you need to. I can't imagine why you would need more than that off the top of my head for most businesses, so that should do you fine. As I mentioned earlier, I've made a video all about the old forms, and I'll connect it everywhere here, so we're not going to talk so much about old forms today. I'm just going to show you where they are and where the difference is between them. Where are forms? How do you get one? How do you get one and put it on your site? So from the editor here, we've got, if I click on here, we've got add a section. So a section has been added here. This purple box is a section. Up here is the header, and in the orange box and in the purple box is the section, and in the other orange box is the footer. All this page has on it is a blank section. Now, if you go into design section and you want to add a pre-designed section here and click on that, you're going to get a bunch of different layouts. And these are strips on top of a section. And you've got contact down here. If we move down there to contact, and if we move one of these over onto the page, we're going to get an old form. This is an old form. You can't really tell by looking, but trust me on that one. I'll just drag that over here for now. So that's on here. So this is a Wix form, and I can tell it's an old form, I'll tell you, because I can edit the field in here. Everything is editable in the form. There's no, if I go to form settings, it's right here. If I go to add new field, it's right here. I'm not going to a form builder to edit the form. It's all right in the form. Now that's seems like it's easier, and it is. If you're just making a really simple form like this, you might want to do that. But if you want more options about what your form looks like, then you're going to want the new forms. Another way to get, I'm going to add a section again down here. Another way to get one of these old forms is to add a strip. So I'm going to go into add and then strip. And you see there's some contact forms in the strips you can add as well. Here's a contact form, here's a contact form, here's a contact form right here. I'm going to add this one over. And this is also going to add, see, it's adding old Wix forms. So again, everything is editable in here. You're not going anyplace else. Also in these forms, in the form settings where it says email notifications, you've automatically got an email notification set up, and it's coming to me so that when somebody fills this out, I'm going to get an email in my inbox telling me about it. The new forms, you have to go one step further and actually set that up. All right, so those are two old forms. So let's look at a new form. So I'm going to, let's add another section down here. There we go. So I'm going to drag this down and make it bigger. Then I'm going to add a strip on top, just a blank one. Add strip. Then we're going to add classic and just a white strip here. And this is where I'm going to put the form. Now I'm going to add, so I've got a section with a strip on it. I'm going to add contact and forms. These contact forms are new forms. So we've got contact forms, order forms, registration forms, application forms. There are a bunch that you can look at. They're all kind of the same. They're kind of the same ingredients. They're just styled differently. We're going to just start with a plain contact form. We're going to use this one and drag this one over. And now it's not saying old forms, it's saying Wix forms. So let's look at the differences here. So we've got edit form, and a new window opens up, and we're in a different place now. And so we've got a whole form editor. Now I'm going to go out of here for a second. We'll go back there. And then we've got settings. So what you can do in here on the page is you can choose the layout that moves how close the fields are to the side of the form, top and bottom. And here is where you can do your design. So the form background, I'll just show you what this looks like. So you see that's the form background. The form background is what color it is inside this blue box. And you can change the border width, border around it. You can change the border radius, make that a round at the edges, apply a shadow. So I've just made it look like that. I'm going to just go back, undo, undo. So that is the form background, is everything that's behind the form in this blue box. And next, the form fields. And that just is how these fields are styled. You've got to look at three things here: regular, hover, and error. Regular is obviously what it looks like right now. Hover is when the visitor hovers their cursor over it. Error is when they have forgotten to put a field in, like we saw in one of the examples I showed you. So let's go back here and let's change the background to an off-white color, and we'll change the corner radius a little bit, make that 15, and the border color, we'll change the border color, we'll change it to blue, or let's change it to gray. I find the blue really ugly. Let's change this to the gray as well, and let's go the text. Now if you want to change the color of the text, you're changing it here. I'm gonna make it all black. Placeholder text is the text that appears inside the field. So these are field titles right here, field title, and the placeholder we'll see later. So let's make the placeholder text a lighter color, and linked text, here, we'll leave that blue. Next, we want to change maybe the way this font looks. Right now it is Futura, so I'm going to change it to what's set up for this website, which I think is Helvetica. So we're going to change it to, I'm going to click on the custom, but I'm going to click on paragraph 3, and they'll all just change to paragraph 3. I'm changing all of them to the same thing. So you could conceivably have everything different. You can change the fonts to, anything. I just changed it to that. You can change it to anything you want. We'll go back to, usually for these little words in a form, you want them to be very legible and small. So you generally are picking kind of a plain, nice, professional, tidy looking font. We have got the text and the way that the fields look. Now, what are they going to look like when they're hovered over? So all that's changed is the border. Let's change the border to this blue. So now if I hover over it, let's go into preview. If I hover over it, the borders turn blue. That probably wouldn't be my choice, but you get the idea. You could make also the borders get thicker. You can change anything you want. Back to settings and design and header. Now this is the title. So we're going to, let's make it paragraph 1. That's a little too small. We'll make it heading 6, and we're going to change that color. Let's change it to black. Often you have, contact information. You might say underneath, please, fill this out and tell us more information about yourself, that sort of thing. Let's just, in case we decide to use that later, we'll make that paragraph 2, and we'll make that dark gray. And paragraph text, again, I don't usually use all of these. I usually don't even use this title. I usually just make this box around the contact form, and I like to put my title out on top, so I can move it around more and have more control over it. But for now, for this tutorial, we'll leave it in there. Last thing we're going to design is the button. There are a bunch of buttons here. Upload, if you want to have somebody upload a resume or a picture or some other information, you can style the upload button here. Back and next are for if you have multi-page forms, which you can do with these new forms. So you want to style the back button and the next button here. Often you're just using a submit button. So let's make the submit button blue. And since we made these borders round, and we're going to make this one round too. So I think I did it at 15. There we go. And let's change the font to paragraph 2. We also want to go and check out hover. So right now it's hovered at a really bright red. I'm going to change it to this blue, and I'm just going to make it a little less. So here's what it looks like now. So now the button looks like that. We've got the form kind of from the way it started to kind of how we want it to look. That's great. But now we want to look at what we've got in the form. We don't necessarily, maybe I don't want to ask for a telephone number. Maybe I don't need an address. We want to edit what is in the form. So we're going to go into edit. All right, here is our form builder. Right now, this form is called contact form up at the upper left-hand corner. You can change this to anything. If it's just your contact form and you have only one contact form on your website, I might leave that. If you have two contact forms, maybe you have a place where you want customers to contact you, or maybe you have a place where you want people who might work with your business to contact you. You might have two different contact forms, and so you might want to name them differently, or job application, or lead magnet, lead magnet 1, lead magnet 2, whatever. All right, and across the top, we've got edit, we've got preview, which shows what the form will look like. We've got settings. Again, you can change the name of the form here, and what happens after the form is submitted. Show a message saying thanks for submitting, how many seconds it displays, all that sort of thing. And then your notifications, and you can add payments in here. We're not going to go through so many of these. And then you've got your submissions, and this has no submissions yet. And this is where you can see all the submissions of just this form. So we're going to go back to edit, and then down over the left side here, we've got add, which is this, what just popped out, the add form fields. We have got rules. That's if you want to add conditional rules to your form. Use logic to change fields based on people's answers. So if you ask a question and they answer one way, they'll get, another set of questions. And if they answer another way, they'll get a second set of questions. You can change this based on what people answer. And then pages is adding another page. And this is particularly good if it's a really long, complex, like a job application, like an application to work with you. A more complex application where you're really asking a lot of questions, you might want to use more than one page and change it to different, each page is a different section of questions or a different kind of questions. So we're going to go back into add. So we're just going to go down through these quickly. Okay, so we've got first name, last name, email. These are all pretty self-explanatory. Multi-line address. I'm going to show you what that looks like. There we go. That asks for country and city and everything, So it's a much more in-depth address. This is really good if you are international. Got to subscribe, that somebody is consenting to subscribe to your email, different things here. Short answer, long answer, number, link, file upload, signature, star rating. And then your choices here. I'm going to get rid of this one. A single choice. And when you put a choice down here, this side opens up here. So we've got single choice. What color would you like best? And then we've got red and we've got blue. You can add other automatically, or you can add another option and say yellow. Or you can add other and just turn that on. Okay, so you've got red, blue, yellow, other. In this single choice, you can only click one of these. You can't click more than one. You can make it a required field. And you also have the option, this down here is going to make 2 columns. So I'm going to do that. There, we can have 3 columns even with this one. And it just makes the form not so long. And it continues, much the same way. Throw that one in. Okay, so this is a multiple choice. So these you can put, I could do the same thing. What color would you like best? Red, blue, yellow, other. Same ideas here. You can add other, you can add options. You can make the title anything you want. You can make columns, but the viewer can click more than one of these. So it could click all 4 if they wanted to. So that's multiple choice. And then drop down is where you have a drop down option here. So you want to put the field, the title, what color would you like best, and then all the color options. You can choose the default view. That's what goes in here. So I'm going to click on default view over here, and we'll use the placeholder is choose one, or the option will show the first option. So it'll say, red if you had the colors here. And then the person just drops down, clicks the drop down and chooses one of those. And again, that's just a one-time choice. Tag picker is down here. Okay, so that is same idea, but they're just in boxes. And lastly, a checkbox. And the checkbox is just a one thing. And this is most often used for, did you read our agreement? Do you agree to our privacy policy? Did you read our FAQs and you understand? Something like that. And you just put what that is right here, whatever they're agreeing to. So that is all the choices. And as you see, there are many of them. So a date picker, I'm going to throw that in here. That gives you a calendar, and I'll show you what that looks like. Let's go into preview. And so it shows you the calendar. This is the date right now, and they can go pick a date, allow them to enter a date and time, service inquiry, appointment. And these are for use with Wix services, which this is new. I'm not sure how to explain that to you right now, so we will not. Payments, and then a header and text. If I wanted to add a page to this, I would add another page. And see the submit went from being submit here to being next. And then I can add more form fields in the next page. And then I've got a back button as well. So that's how you make a multi-page form. So I'm going to save this, and now it's going to look like the dog's breakfast on our website here. I saved that up here, and now that's just all translated right onto the website page. When I move this in and out here, I can make the form wide, which is nice if you've got options where people are adding information or writing stuff out, giving you a couple of paragraphs of information about themselves. It just looks more inviting. One thing I didn't talk about, I'm going to go back into edit for a second, was placeholders. So if I go on the first name here and I go into settings and I go into placeholder text right here, the automatic one the default that comes up is enter your first name. So I might want to leave that there. Sometimes I like to just use the placeholders. I like to just put first name, last name, email inside the field and not have the field titles at all. That's possible as well. And that kind of looks, very simple sometimes. I'm going to put a short answer and a long answer in here so you can see what I was talking about. We'll just leave the short answer in there. And I'm going to, let's say, let's use placeholder text there and say, so I've added more information there, more description of what I want them to say to me. And we're going to go back into the page here, and that's added that on. Tell us more about how we can help you. So here's what our form's looking like now. Remember, we didn't style the next button, so it's still red like this. And just to go into the preview, if I click next, it goes into the next page, but we didn't put anything on there. We didn't put any content on that second page. So right now it's just showing the back button and the submit button. All right, so that is how you build the form. So more complicated than these little forms here. And you could make this form look much like this one. For the most part, most of what's in here, I'm not sure if you can do file uploads, and let's see, what fields do we have up here? Basic fields, advanced fields. Yes, there's a file upload here. So you could almost add everything that's on here into this form up here. So it's either, whichever way you prefer to build it. You do have a little bit more control with this bigger form. So one more thing here, we are going to look at adding some security onto here. So if I go into edit form and I go into the settings here, clicked on spam filter setting. So I clicked on advanced. Now I am being told that this is invisible. So there's no click box that anybody's clicking on here to get the reCAPTCHA to work. If I go up into one of the old editors and I add a new field up here, yeah, we've got reCAPTCHA here, and I add that, and it actually shows on here. That's what I'd been expecting to happen in the new one. I expected a box like this, but I'm being told by the internet powers that be that in the new forms, if you add it, it's been added, it's just invisible. I would for sure check that box in the settings there, although I like that one. And so what happens when a form is submitted? How do you find out about it? How do you get all this information? How do you even know? We're going to go into edit form, and we're going to look at the automations that are set up in there. And here we are. We're going to go into settings up here where we have been before, and we're going to go look into notifications and automations. So down at notifications and automations, we've got new submission received for contact form. And that is when the form is submitted, an email is sent. So let's look at that one. And the trigger is the Wix form is submitted. I'm going to click right on that box there. Which form triggered this automation? The contact form. And then I'm going to click on send an email. And the email comes from no reply from Wix automations. And I don't mind that because I know that it's an automation that I sent myself. And then I get an email that says a site visitor just submitted your form, and it tells me the information on it. Then down here under recipients, it says collaborator role number 1. That's me. I don't know why it's called that. It should be called site owner in my opinion. A lot of this in this sidebar here is not really obvious if you ask me. That's why I'm explaining it. Everything's all set up here. I didn't have to do anything. When a form is submitted, I get an email. That's great. I'm going to show you though, just going back to the site dashboard. Down the left-hand side here, I see a couple of things. I see automation, and up a couple from there's forms and submissions right here. So forms and submissions here, I can see the submissions for that form right here and view submissions. So if I had 10 submissions, I could view the submissions, and it would show me, going to show me nothing. It would show all the fields across here that we set up and all the content that goes in them. Down here going into automations, this is where all the automations are set up. I've got no custom automations here, none that I've built myself. If you want to send a email to your client, if they fill out your form, that's where you're going to set that up in here. You'd go to create an automation, and you'll get that same screen with the trigger and the send the email in it like we did before. And the app automations, the first one up here is the new submission received for contact form submitted, blah, 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 that we just filled out. And that's it. And of course, you are going to go and test that out and make sure that it works, and make sure that you're getting form submissions, because there's no point in having forms on your website if you are not knowing about them. Let's take a moment now and look at this form on mobile. We've only been looking at it on desktop so far, so we're going to take a click up here and switch to mobile, and it's looking pretty good. The only thing I'd have to say about it, I'm sure you would agree, is it's kind of narrow. So if I click on this, I see the blue outline of the form. I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to drag it out wider. That put the two words contact information all on one line. And I'm going to center this. I could even make it wider. And that's how it looks now. And so that's how it is on mobile. So hardly anything to do there, just a little tiny adjustment, and that's it. And that's Wix new forms and how to set them up. So that's about it. You can pretty much, with that form builder, build out anything you can imagine, big or small. If you want a full Wix tutorial from start to finish on how to really dive into the editor and build out your site, take a look at the video right here. I'll see you in the next video. If your website isn't working the way you want, or you're just tired of trying to fix it yourself, this is for you. The Website Power Hour is a one-on-one Zoom session where I log into your site with you, and we literally fix what's broken right there, live. You'll come away with real progress, a clear plan for what's next, and a recording of everything we did so you can revisit it at any time. It's the fastest, most practical way to get expert help without committing to a full redesign. You can book your website Power Hour right now at biritdesign.com/Power Hour.